This is Rashawn Slater, first round draft pick for the LA Chargers, and you're listening to the Charged Up Bolts podcast. Bolt up.
Hello and welcome. We're here to talk about the Vikings tonight, and I'm joined by two of my great co-hosts. The first is John Morris Jr. You there, John? Mr. Was Jr.
I am there. Yeah, a bit of a technical issue. What went on there? That was like being starting the sidelines at a Chargers game. What went on there?
Well, mate, if you're sat on the sidelines, I'd rather have you get in time than Guyton. John, California, how are you, my friend?
Just sitting here trying to recover from this cold, trying to recover from that game. It was a rough one. I will say the atmosphere was really good in SoFi, though. There was a lot of Chargers fans making a lot of noise in there, so it's been one of the better games from a Charger fan, like from a noise level perspective that I've been to this year. So, it was a good one at the stadium. But yeah, it was a tough loss, and we got to push forward.
You know what? It's disappointing, isn't it? It feels like your bubble's been burst. You've come off a loss. The Vikings are beating us. I think we did all acknowledge it was going to be a one-score game. We thought 24 points were mentioned routinely by every single person that made a prediction, including some of the viewers. And the Vikings are a good side. Kirk Cousins' stats were better than Justin Herbert's throughout the season and again in the game. Justin Jefferson's a man beast. Dan and I were talking about how he's had ridiculous stats. He got over 100 yards again. And they exploited our lack of depth. I had some comments that it might have been play calling. It could have been the exposure to the depth, maybe just a bad matchup, as you said, John. My initial thought on the night, drops again, unimaginative play calling, and quite frankly, I thought that Gilman had a terrible game. Am I off the money here? Am I wrong? Some people have said the play calling was good. It wasn't the problem. It was execution. Which way are you pointing the finger?
I don't think you can point the finger at any one sort of group of players or coaches. We spoke about this before we come on air, and we talked about the fact that no one's consistent. Defense is now starting to force Herbert to throw short passes because Mike Williams has been taken out of the game, and what we saw from his productivity in the first 4 games was immense. We're talking about a potential Chargers MVP there, and do we sign him next season? That's not happening now. We've got no running game. Okay. So we've got a problem with the running game on both sides of football, defense and offense. There are some positives. The fact that we've still got Derwin James healthy, the fact that Larry Roundtree scored his first touchdown. Herbert, he's still learning. Okay, nobody's pointing the finger at Herbert. I saw some tweets on Sunday and Monday saying that somebody needs to get fired. Look, when you've got problems stopping the run, when you've got problems on the offensive line, okay, and you're inviting pressure, you don't get into any rhythm with the ball or without the ball, and you end up in a situation where you've got 3 and outs. I think, John, your tweet summed it up on Sunday live from the stadium. We're saying, look, the defense needs a break, the offense needs a break, and they're not getting it. And the Vikings came to play, and they got the victory. The NFL is absolutely bonkers this season, absolutely bonkers. If anybody would have predicted how this season's panning out, come and play my lottery numbers. The fact that the Chiefs have been struggling. They had a massive win again on Sunday, which is disappointing because we had the command of the division and now we've sort of surrendered to them. Yes, they played a game more. Russell Wilson, I know this is not about the Chiefs or the Seahawks. Russell Wilson getting shut out for the first time in his NFL career. This has just been a crazy, crazy season. This is a team work in progress. And I think John's emphasised this more than any of us. The fact that, we don't need to get too carried away, and we've got to allow Staley to bring in his own coaching methods, his own players. Look, let's not forget about everything else. Look at the last 2 coaches that we've had. Well, let's go back to Norv Turner, Mike McCoy, Anthony Lynn. It's not been great. The philosophy of the football team has not been great. it might take 3 or 4 years for Staley to get where he needs to be to stop having these narrow wins or narrow defeats. We've got to keep looking forward. We've got to keep looking positive. I'm just a bit worried about what we do in the draft because there's an awful lot of gaps to fill. I hope that answers your question, Bess.
It answered a lot of questions, I guess.
Yeah, I did really, to be fair. Go on, John. What's your take?
I'm sorry. How long did you say it might take for Staley?
3 or 4 years before we become a team that people take. You say longer?
I can tell you right now, this team had better start performing at a really high level next season, or Staley won't be very long for this job. I can promise you the NFL hiring cycle is nonstop. You do not get 4 years to prove yourself. You get a year to kind of get yourself into the groove. You get year 2 where you better show some real signs of life and improvement. And then year 3 had better be kind of like, all right, we ready to go, right? Otherwise, they're already talking about who your replacement is. So I don't think he has that kind of time. It's just not how the NFL works anymore. You don't get 4 or 5 years as a coach. You just don't. It doesn't happen. So he needs to get things righted faster than that. And again, first year 1, I think we all said it coming to the season. I tweeted this out myself. It's just like, hey, we had expectations for this team. And we even said, hey, even after a little bit of excitement after the preseason and everything, we said, hey, you know what? We think this is a fringe playoff team. We think this team can make the playoffs. We're excited. And then they go, they get a hot start. They go 4-1, and now everyone's like, oh, they're Super Bowl contenders, right? Oh, how are they not challenging for the Super Bowl, right? Like, I was like, whoa. This is the same team, guys. Nothing's changed, right? The things, they got a few lucky bounces. They had a really high success on early downs. They were very healthy early on. I think people keep forgetting that in those first 4 or 5 games, the majority of the team was healthy and playing, right? I mean, obviously, except for Balaga, because he's just, he's a waste. But everyone else was, for the most part, was healthy and ready to go. So, and I think as injuries started taking their toll, as regression to the mean, right? You can't expect to convert 3rd and long and 4th down at such a high level like the Chargers were. Like, it was kind of unsustainable at that point. And I think we all knew it, and then it happened. And we shouldn't be surprised. I think, like we all say, winning covers everything, right? All the blemishes, all the problems, it all kind of gets swept under the rug if you get the W. So I think this is just these are part of the growing pains, right? Part of a new coaching staff and a new system and getting everyone online is growing pains. It's inconsistency. And I think that's what we're seeing most from the Chargers. Yeah. We're seeing inconsistent play.
100%.
And real contenders can play consistently well and do their job consistently. And no, they don't need to play consistently, like at consistent high levels, right? They don't need to be really, really good all the time, but they need to be consistently good. Right? If they're just regularly, consistently good, they will win more than they lose, and that's how you become a really dangerous, really good team. So they just lack that right now, and I think as they kind of get everything together, it'll get better. Staley, again, he'll be able to work with Tom Telesco after getting a full season with the current personnel, and he'll be able to say, okay, look, here's where I think we need to make some changes. Here's how I think we should probably focus the draft. And then Tom will be, tasked with making it happen. So I think, what happens this coming up off season and will really dictate the future. But right now I want to talk about this game. I want to talk about where this team is, and where this team is where we thought they were. They're a good, not great team. They have flaws, but they've also got real promise. We see it out there constantly. We see this defense lining up for a few plays or a few drives in a row where they look like they weren't going to give up more than 15 points that game, right? There's positive. We have, our kick return game is not the best, but hey, it looks better. We're getting positive yards out of it, so that's pretty good when there aren't penalties, right? Our kicker, as Michael Snow mentioned, our kicker does not scare us anymore. I'm like, oh, we're kicking it. Cool. Okay, that makes sense, right?
Yeah,
Versus, we kicking
wonderful.
it. Why are we kicking it? I don't care if it's a 20-yard field goal. Go for it. Right? Like, I'm not yelling, screaming, go for 2 every time, because I think he'll probably make it. So, there are improvements. There are good things out there. We're seeing some players step up, and we're seeing we're seeing growing pains. I think we just need to level it off, put the pitchforks away, put out the torches. Be cool.
I mean, I wrote an article on the website this morning. I still believe we can win 10 games this season. And look, if we only win 8 or 9, that's still progression on what we saw last year and the year before. because Herbert is so good and he had such a good rookie season and he has played well for the most part this season, that kind of elevates our expectations of where this team can go. And I think you're probably right, John. We're trying to run before we can walk. And yeah, we all did get carried away at the beginning of the season, but we did say, there's a time to get carried away because we've suffered quite a lot in the last 3 or 4 years as Chargers fans. And if we go on a bit of a run and we start knocking teams off, we need to get excited about it because it's such a short window of opportunity, the NFL. You've got 17 regular season games. And then if you don't make that's you then. You're marking time until the draft and then OTAs and pre-season. So I think people have to get excited, but then as I tweeted out on Monday, don't start throwing stones at each other. We went through all this in 2014, 2015. It wasn't very nice on Twitter. Chargers Twitter's been generally positive, and we need to keep it that way. We are going to have some ups and downs, and that's why I think we could potentially finish 10-7 this season.
Well, I'm looking at this team and trying to see, most teams that are going to excel and drive themselves to the Super Bowl, you can tell they elevate themselves above. They can always turn it on. Mahomes for a few years now has been able to outscore you and just take you to that end zone and score again. Brady's, meticulous and methodical as he marches down the field on you. There are teams that show up. We're not there yet, and we all know this. We know we're not ready. We know we're not terribly miles away. So I'm looking at this team and saying, is Herbert the real deal? Now, I want to be sort of optimistic and I want to be realistic as well, I think is probably fair to say. Is Herbert Patrick Mahomes 2.0? Probably not. Is he an above average, very good, sometimes elite quarterback that can lead you to victory? Yes. But as we've seen the last few weeks, when you do one of a few things, when you come up against a fantastic defensive mind, they can restrict him. They can push him into passes he doesn't want to make, positions he doesn't want to be in, and get us behind the 8 ball. But I think the big thing is play calling, and this is the debate we opened up the show with and as we've had on Twitter. I think to make Herbert great, you have to enable him with a fantastic play calling, offensive play call. Get out there open up the playbook, get him launching it down the field, let him throw some amazing ones, let him get into a rhythm. And what I was disappointed most at the weekend was that we got ahead of the chains a little bit. We sort of got 3-4 yards with an Eckler run on first down quite a number of times. And then we passed it twice. Low percentage passes, quick slants. We didn't make the most of our matchups. I didn't see a lot of creativity to just keep it going. So we were often even though we'd had a little bit of a chunk run on first down, we'd then wasted the opportunity and we were 3rd and long again. I just didn't like it. I didn't like the play calling. We've gone from being overly aggressive to being a bit cautious, and I'm like, that's not good. And the other big thing is, as we know with any work in progress team, depth isn't there. So when your big players go, your names, the players that are in form, if they go injured, it's always about how the backups sort of come in and how they replace those players. And we don't have that. Campbell is better than I thought. I always thought it was Jaleel Adai 2.0. He's a lot better than I thought, but he's still not even a cornerback 2. He's a utility rotational player. And he was just exposed against Jefferson.
In fairness, cornerback 1s get exposed by Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson is, as much as we joke about this whole like, oh, he wasn't rookie of the year kind of thing. He is an elite player. He really is, right? He is. Yeah. Well, no one ever said he's not an elite player. The argument was about another thing, so I'm not going to get into that offensive rookie of the year argument again. But he's an elite player, so I don't think it's very fair to say he's not a CB2 when he gets burned consistently against Justin Jefferson. Because you know what? Honestly, CB2s would generally not be covering Justin Jefferson, right? You'd have, but who else was going to do it, right? Could you imagine Chris Harris Jr.? Chris Harris Jr. is considered a cornerback too. Could you imagine him against him? He would get killed. He was on for
why wouldn't you help out your quarterbacks and just take away Justin Jefferson? When we beat the Bengals a few years ago, I think Mike McCoy was manager. Such a vanilla mind. And he just said, my game plan is to take away Andre Green and beat the Bengals because you can't go elsewhere. Why don't we do that to Justin Jefferson? Why didn't we absolutely just take him out of the game, double and triple team him in the secondary, give Campbell help and make them find other targets. It was always Jefferson on third down. It was always him coming across the middle, 15 yards away from whoever he was with. I just didn't think it was for Staley to say he's this amazing defensive mind working with his defensive coordinator and the team. I haven't seen a great amount of decisive innovation that has elevated the defense. I thought it was quite vanilla. And the worst thing I'm going to come on to after this. Hey, Charged Up Bolts listeners, thanks for tuning in. Do you know what really sucks? Us Brits don't really get Thanksgiving. It's not a thing here. You know, you guys get amazing NFL games, you get the family round, you get the turkey, some weird sides, but we'll let you have that. But we don't get to celebrate it. It's not the same. But there is one little secret that I've been let in on that makes things better, and that's thanks to DraftKings Sportsbook, or DraftKings if you want to be a bit American. They're allowing new customers to bet just $1 on any Thanksgiving NFL game and win $100 in free bets if either team scores a point. It's amazing. You can play for free for millions. Now, here's the secret on how to do it. You download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use promo code TPPN. Bet just $1 on any Thanksgiving NFL game and win $100 in free bets if either team scores a single point. That's promo code TPPN this Thanksgiving at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Well, must be 21 or older, New Jersey, Indiana, Pennsylvania only, new customers only, and restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. That's my secret to you. Now back to the show.
Who's that dude?
Yeah, boy. Do you know what? Back to my rant. I was about to go off on one when I noticed the time, and I'm going to go off on one. And I want you to tell me if am I over exaggerating with this, because I'm going to go on a rant. The last drive, the game's on the line. You have to get a stop and get the ball back in Justin Herbert's hands, and you have the Vikings in second and third and longs. Sorry, second and longs twice. Second and 20, second and 17 twice, and you let them convert once on a third down, once on a fourth down. The defenses I've been back and watched are really soft. 3 and 4 rushers going to the quarterback, just getting nowhere near Cousins, and man coverage. Soft zone, allowing them to get 10, 15 yards for free as long as they don't get a first down at that point. And we just gave it up both times. I thought it was insipid. I thought it was spineless. Where's the blitz? Where's the go after the quarterback? Where is? All right, dump it off to Cook and we'll come and tackle and smash you with Derwin James. It was weak in the fourth quarter. And I do not want to go back to the days of Mike McCoy and Anthony Lynn limping over the line with pathetic, weak butter defenses. Absolutely no faith in that defense from the defensive coordinator in the fourth quarter, and I was embarrassed by it. John, am I over exaggerating?
I think you are a little bit. I think the defense in general has been pretty solid, and you know what? We held Dalvin Cook, one of the best rushers in the league, to 94 yards rushing, and the way you do that is you generally have to give up something somewhere else, and that was in the air. And I think this team was really queued up on stopping the run, and I think they sacrificed it in the air, which is not generally what they want to do, but that's what happened, right? And again, there's a depth issue, right? We're talking about the fact that we're low on players this year in the secondary. We're missing some key guys, right? Nas, I think, would have played a bigger role if he'd been able to play. I think that would have been big for this team. Him roaming around there, helping out on the back end. Obviously, if Michael Davis was there, I think we'd be talking about a different story. I don't think there would be as much as many big plays coming out of this game. And I think I think there is a little bit of a complacency that's starting to set in a little bit. I think this team is starting to get a little bit nervous. And part of it's probably just it could be a Staley kind of being a little bit new head coach. He's getting he's getting a little bit more conservative because he just he thinks he can get his team in the position to win. And yeah, those big chunk plays on third and long are killer, right? Like, and I was the one watching it live at the end of the game, and as soon as that 3rd and 20 came up, and I'm like, you gotta at least give up 15 yards, fine. Right, keep it 3rd and 5, keep it 3rd and 6 or whatever, or 4th and 5, 4th and 6. You can't let it get to 4th and 1, 4th and 2, because at that point, especially important parts of the game, they're going to go for it and they're going to run it down your throat most likely. Like it can get frustrating. But at the end of the day, that defense was also out on the field for a long time. Let's not forget that the offense and special teams hung them out to dry multiple times. And yeah, it was annoying to see some of these long 3rd and long conversions happening, and that needs to be cleaned up. I'm not giving them a pass for that, but I'm also saying that, look, they looked really good on the field in the first half. I mean, this defense looked like they were going to carry the entire team, but to expect a defense to keep that rate of play for an entire game when the offense continually goes 3 and out, when the special teams puts them in bad positions, you just can't expect that. And honestly, there's at least one touchdown, if not more points than that, were a direct relation of the offense failing them and special teams failing them. And, I don't blame them for that. So to be perfectly honest, I don't really blame the defense for this. Yeah, 27 points doesn't look great. And they could have done better. But at the same time, I really think that if the offense had done better, the defense would have done better as well. So I really want to shift the blame back to the offense, because I think that's really what's weighing down this team.
So just to add to your take on that, John, if you look at the time of possession again, the Vikings had more of the football than we did. And it goes back to this complementary football. Now, it's not a cliche. People talk about it every week. When we've got the football, we should be driving down the field, eating the clock, converting, putting 6 on the board. We didn't do that. We had opportunities in this game, like we do in every other game. And the fact that we were going 3 and out, turn the football over, and our defense starts getting gassed. And we've seen this quite a few times in the last 3 or 4 years of the Chargers, where the defense are playing lights out, and then towards the end, they just start getting gassed. I think Linval Joseph said for him, it's almost like it's conditioning, but you don't want to be in that position too many times. And I think that's where the Chargers stuttered on offense. And John's right. We just couldn't make those stops at the end. And I think on your point, Bez, had those 3rd and longs come in the first quarter, even the second quarter, we might have been a bit more aggressive, or we might have been able to do something. I mean, don't forget as well that the likes of Joey Bosa came into this game with an ankle injury, and you get to that point that in individuals, psychology, human instinct is going to say, do you know what? I want to play next week. And I'm not saying that Joey Bosa or anyone else ducked out of any challenges or didn't put 100% in, but all these things creep in. It's all these things that we don't get to hear about, we don't get to see. And you've got to look at the bigger picture. It's ugly. And I just wish that we'd been in a position where, look, we all thought the Vikings were going to come into our building, put up 24 points. All 4 of us, and a few of our listeners said that. So we shouldn't be surprised to actually give up 27. It's just disappointing that we only managed 20. I think Herbert is going to. The other thing is, look, if we're sat here now at 7-2, all right, and we're all singing and jeering and like, whoa, are we actually learning anything? I think Brandon Staley is one of those head coaches. He's going to learn more from the defeats than the victories. That's just my take.
Yep, and the third quarter was massive disappointing from an offensive point of view. We got ourselves into a complete mess. Joshua Kelly came. There were 2 guys that really stank it up for me. And Alohi Gilman was targeted. He wasn't giving the support to his quarterbacks and coming down. He gave some easy 3rd down completions. There was one where Chris Harris was livid. And on the offense, I'm afraid Joshua Kelly was put in and completely screwed up 2 blocks that then absolutely ruined drives. And he was almost single-handedly at fault for stopping those in their tracks. We didn't put up the points, and the Vikings got away from us. So your boy, who John, you were all singing and all dancing for Joshua Kelly last week about how he was back, lost us the game in effect. So it's on you. Or is there something else on the offense that's not working, John?
I don't think I was singing and dancing that he was back. I think I was making a joke and making light of it. Obviously none of these running backs besides Eckler is any good, Like none of them are any good. They have what I like to call elite blindness. I don't see any vision from them. I see them basically getting the ball and running in a straight line to wherever they're supposed to be. And maybe they'll make one cut back or whatever, and that's it. But that's about it. They don't really have anything special. Roundtree scores on basically a goal line run that basically all he has to do is get some steam and jump. So great. Pretty sure Eckler could have jumped over that pile, but I'd rather see Roundtree hurt himself on a jump than Eckler. So probably smart play by Lombardi there to give it to him. But none of these running backs are any good. So if you're not going to be that good at running the ball, you need to at least be good at helping with pass protection. Joshua Kelly has it was so bad. I don't know where you go from here for him. If you can't contribute there, and I haven't really seen him as a real special teams contributor, I don't know what else to say. Like, I just don't know how he could be active, I guess just let Roundtree hold it down. At least Roundtree has some value in special teams. Justin Jackson, when we get him for those, 3 games a year, he can do his thing. And he's great, for when he's out there, Justin Jackson, I have full confidence he could be a solid running back too. But I have no confidence in him staying healthy. Him and Bulaga apparently have the same trainer, and it doesn't go well. Anyways, I just don't think that they have that situation figured out, and you can roast them all, but between the blocking there, between the poor offensive line blocking, I don't think there is an easy fix right now. So we're just going to have to wait and see how they manage around it. I think Lombardi has done his best, to manage around it. And I think maybe that's what might be neutering this offense a little bit. I think he's worried about the safety of Justin Herbert. I think he's worried about just, hey, you know what? We've seen them try to take some deep shots and on some plays where he's got, multiple guys on deep routes. And what happens? Those are usually the plays where Herbert's getting sacked or he's running for his life or whatever, right? Like, yes, maybe a little bit more RPO with that, maybe a little bit more rollout, try to give him space or whatever, but like you can only do that so much, right? I just don't know. I think the offense could be more aggressive, but I think a part of that is just that, there's not a lot of faith in the blocking in front of Herbert. So they've tried to really limit it by saying, hey, we're going to get the ball out quickly. We're going to get it out. We're going to throw it short and we're going to get the ball out of his hands so that he doesn't have to, take a bunch of punishment. Because I saw some pretty big hits on him this last weekend. I saw a few times where he really got kind of laid out and laid on. And, he's a big dude, but, injuries happen. And, where is this team going to be without Herbert, right? Where would they be without Herbert? It would not go well. I promise you. You can tell me all day long about Easton Stick or whatever, but
yeah, agreed.
Not going to be it. So, maybe this is a smart play. They're not contenders. Maybe we just kind of go easy and just see what happens.
Yeah, I think the other, we've got to look at some positives as well. Storm Norton allowed 2 pressures last week. He only allowed 1 this week, so that's an improvement. He was giving up 8 and 9 pressures at points during the early parts of the season. So I just think we have to take literally every quarter as it comes now. It's not even a matter of taking game by game because we're so indifferent. When was the last time we actually got an interception? I can't remember.
Week.
Well,
week 5, 4 or 5.
Well, that's the problem. We've all had to sit and think, and no one can come up with a definitive answer.
It's been a few. We've had more fumbles, recoveries, I would say, but again, you saw. By the way, that's the other thing we talked about it the other day. You asked me, hey, what could be the poor tackling? We saw a lot of that poor tackling again. Guys, first touch. And they're bouncing off. Why? Because they're going for the strip. They're going for the ball. And it's great to be a ball hawk, but the first guy needs to latch on, and the second guy can come in and go for the ball if that's the case. But you need to latch and take down your man. You can't go for the ball every time because you got 3 guys going for the ball. Guess what? Now that little 5-yard play turned into a 7-8-yard play, right? They're getting second and short and third and short all the time. Why? Because we're giving up those extra yards after the catch, and it's killer. I saw a stat the other day, actually just today, talking about how many passing yards each team has after the catch, right? Kind of breaking it down, passing yards after the catch. And, The Vikings are one of those teams that are way up there, and that was probably aided by us going, hey, we're going to touch them, and then we're going to let them run for a few more yards, because why not? Why bother tackling, right? why bother tackling him and for whatever, whenever you see him, just let's let him run for a few yards, see if we can knock it out, and then maybe drag him down. It's bad, and I get what they're trying to do, but I think they need to get back to more, hey, let's just tackle the guy first, and then we'll talk about getting turnovers.
How was the John? How was the towards the end of the game? How was the atmosphere at the SoFi?
I will say it was kind of weird, especially at halftime. Where at halftime, I've never been in a stadium where both teams' fans were very nervously optimistic. Where both fans felt like, "Oh, hey, we could totally win this game," but I have a bad feeling we're going to lose it. The Vikings fans were feeling the same way. Like it was a really weird atmosphere. Although the atmosphere in general, though, to your broader point, was a good atmosphere. I think everyone was excited. It started to kind of wither down towards, at certain points when there were lulls. I think it kind of lulled a little bit, but there are definitely plenty of times, especially in the fourth quarter, when things were still pretty close, where it was rocking, and there's a lot of Charger fans. And honestly, I heard the Vikings fans try to get their skull chant going a few times. The skull, this thing. Yeah. And they didn't really get it going. Like, it wasn't very loud. And, I don't know. I didn't see the broadcast, so I don't know if they, try to like put the mic near them and play it up like they were getting their whole skull chant going, but they never really got it going, right? Which was nice.
I mean, they travel. I remember when the Steelers played the Vikings at Wembley Stadium in London, and we went down to the pre-game shows, and there was literally thousands and thousands of Vikings fans. See families dressed head to toe in purple with matching suitcases. They're fanatics, and you would expect them to have travel well and go to SoFi and make noise. But I think it's good that we're starting to get more Chargers fans through the gates. But we just need to keep on side, because I do feel that we're a franchise where we're still trying to win over the doubters. And I think if we keep having too many ugly games like that, there'll be a few that want to stay away, which is unfortunate, really. But look,
again, I don't want to turn this into a stadium
next week.
Yeah, I don't want to turn this into a stadium conversation, but the Chargers are a top 3 or 4 team in ticket sales this year, and I actually expect them to be in the top 10 every year moving forward. Why? Because I think there's a solid fan base in LA who wants football. Yes. It's a newer stadium for a while. Yes. And additionally, it's a premier location to go to. I was tailgating, and I had Vikings fans, around me. So, we chit chat, because, by the way, Vikings fans, very nice, good Midwestern people, like salt of the earth people, really like the Vikings fans, way better than the Cowboys fans, obviously way better than Raiders fans. The Vikings fans were a pleasant, and I'd even say they were a little bit better than the Browns fans. Not that the Browns fans were bad, but I just felt like there was a lot of hospitality with the Vikings fans. Very nice. They shared some of their jelly beans with me, which was nice. I love jelly beans. I only ate the yellow ones, no purple ones. So there you go. But when I was talking with them, and a lot of them said, hey, you know what? Every year, or not every year, but mostly every year, every couple of years or so, they would play the Rams, and it was a big thing for them to come out to LA to see the Rams or whatever when that was, or the Raiders, right? And they're like, well, now we've got the Chargers, so we're just gonna, we try to make that pilgrimage to LA and see the Chargers, because guess what? You can't beat this weather. They're like, it was 80 degrees, sunny. It was a really beautiful day, and they're like, it's snowing in Minnesota right now, don't you know? Yeah, I was like, yeah, I bet it is. That's awful. So that's the reason why you're always going to get a lot of these fan bases coming to LA. Because first of all, LA is a major metropolitan city. And guess what? There's a lot of transplants here. A lot of people who moved for work or whatever came to California and said, you know what? I'm not going back to that crappy state I lived in. I'm going to stay here. So there's got a lot of those fans already there. And then you get plenty of them who want to travel to Los Angeles. Right? I want to travel to Southern California. I want to go to Disneyland. I want to go to a football game. Like, we talk about guys like, hey, let's do a weekend, go to Vegas, go catch a Raider game, right? Like, it's the same thing, right? It's like, hey, let's go for the week. Let's go for a weekend. It's our big trip in the winter, get out of the snow, get to SoCal. So we're always going to have this problem, but I think that the representation is, every game I've been to, the representation has been right around 50%. I really will say that. Like the cameras will do their best to make it look worse. And I sit on the away side, by the way. My tickets are like the 30-yard line on the away side behind the away bench. And so I'm constantly seeing a lot of the opposing fans around me, but there's still tons of Charger fans around me. And we're still clapping hands and high-fiving and all that stuff. So there's a great atmosphere there for Chargers fans. There really is. I highly recommend you go to the game.
That's great news. And we're looking forward to coming over.
Yes, we're
Yeah,
coming
you guys
over next
come on
year.
over. I'll talk to Boris. I'll be like, yo, Boris, yo, big man, let my people go.
Well, hopefully,
people go.
Hopefully, he'll not be the Prime Minister much longer, and we'll better go anyway.
True story. Before we finish up, one last comment. I want a yes or a no. Would you bring back Tyron Johnson and drop Jalen Guyton? John?
Oh, and drop Jalen Guyton or just bring him back?
Well, both.
Yes to bringing him back. Maybe to drop Guyton. I would drop Neighbors. I would drop Pipkins. I would drop Kelly.
Pipkins.
I would drop Kelly. Or I'd even drop, I'd even drop some of our other kind of depth guys who don't really ever see the field much to bring Guyton back. To leave Guyton there because I think we need multiple guys who can stretch the field. Drop KJ Hill, maybe. Unless he's he's been okay on special teams, but there's plenty of guys you can drop. I hate to say it,
Listen,
bring him back. Bring Tyron Johnson back. You can't. Honestly, it couldn't be worse than what we have. So that worst case scenario. You bring him back and nothing changes.
if you could carry the football 12 yards and average 3 yards a carry, I'd bring LT back right now. 82 yards rushing we had on Sunday.
Le'Veon Bell just got released.
Bringing him in with Melvin Gordon. That's it. That's what's happening.
We're already bringing Gordon. Hashtag bring back Gordon. Flash Gordon, baby. Flash, bring back the Flash.
Amazing.
No. Guys, I think we would revolt if that happened, by the way. I'd be all for it, but I think everyone else would revolt. So I could dust off my Gordon jersey again.
Oh, God. Well,
I can't even give it a Goodwill won't even take it. Goodwill won't even take it. So it's just sitting in the bottom of my closet.
Set on fire to it. Done. Guys, it's been a pleasure. We're going to preview the Steelers game, which could be a nice game to bounce back on with a ridiculous amount of injuries.
They tied the Lions, a team where Anthony Lynn is a prominent coach, and you tied them. We can beat this team.
No pressure on the Chargers.
Winnable game.
Well, it's been a pleasure to have you all. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for tuning in. Bolt up.
Bolts up, buddy.
This is Rashawn Slater, first round draft pick for the LA Chargers, and you're listening to the Charged Up Bolts podcast.